Greetings, friends. Reformed Stoic here. Let me just work on this camera angle for a second. Alright, that should be alright. So, it's been a little bit since I made a video. I figured I'd try to jump back out there with some hot takes. I was just watching this video earlier. I kind of had it on the background while I was doing stuff. I believe it's the Other People's Lives podcast, and it looked like it was maybe their newest episode. Or I don't know if it was a podcast. It's like a talk show cast thing. But the title of the video was Why I'll Always Be an Incel. And apparently these guys have talked to other incels before. I really don't like that term. I don't even know why, or I don't want to get into why. I feel like that could maybe be a video all of its own. But I think it's just kind of like a rebranding of words that already existed with like a really negative stigma behind it. You know, nerds, losers, dorks, dweebs. Those guys didn't get laid. Those guys struggled with women. I don't know why we need this new word. It really is like a rebranding of something that was ultimately already a thing. I mean, society was already aware that there was guys who didn't do as well socially and didn't do as well with women, and they've just rebranded it into something that's very toxic, you know? I mean, what I always bring up is, let's get right down to it. How many incel killers have there been? Like 10, right? Just off the top of my head, just a rough estimate. You know, on the low end, like 7, on the high end, 15. And the studies are showing that, like, how many guys are struggling with women right now? Like 63% of men, 19 to 29. So, like, 10 killers out of like tens of millions of people. I mean, if you're gonna act a certain way based off of those kind of statistics, then let me tell you, man, you might want to like run and duck for cover when you see like other kinds of people. We don't want to go there. But yeah, that's not what the video is about, is getting all wrapped up in the term incel. But I was kind of enjoying the video for a little bit. I maybe made it like 15, 20 minutes. I don't know. I had it on in the background. But when I really started to kind of get triggered and just wanted to turn the video off was when I saw what these guys running this podcast or call-in show or what have you, when I kind of saw their end game. Like, and then I was like, I wonder what the comments look like on this video. And I started reading the comments. And then I started to really get the big picture of what this was. It's like, oh man, like, why would you ever call in to this show and tell people that you're an incel? And where do I even begin with this, man? Okay. So, I guess to kind of summarize where I'm trying to get at here is, I think that maybe like autism and being non-neurotypical, I'm totally brain farting on that term. Like atypical, neurotypical, non-neurotypical, atypically non-neuro. I can't remember what it's called right now. I'll write it in the description. But basically autism. I like the other term better than autism because it just kind of describes what it is. Like when you're not wired right, when your thinking process is off and like your communication is just off, and it's kind of just this malfunction. I feel like I'm starting to become pretty well acquainted with sperg burgers and just their inability to have like a regular train of thought. And there's a lot of different ways that autism manifests. But when I was listening to this self-proclaimed incel start explaining his situation it hit me in like the first 5 minutes. Like, this dude is not neurotypical. This guy is a sperg. This guy, from my understanding of autism, has autism. And at that point, it's not that I didn't hold him accountable for what he was saying. It's just that I understood that his train of thought was like all over the place and unorganized. I pride myself to be a pretty rational person. I'm a couple semesters away from a bachelor's degree in philosophy. I like things like logic, debate, rhetoric. I'm trying to take this guy's stream of consciousness and like think, what is he actually saying? Like, what ideas is he presenting here? And it was very difficult to do because he was all over the place. So at some point, I was just like, this guy's a sperg. And in like the last 10 minutes before I kind of saw where the discussion was going with the guys who run the show, like they bring these guys on there to humiliate themselves so their normie audience can just regurgitate the same, oh, he's entitled, he thinks he deserves women, this isn't a nice guy. Like, just Reddit stereotypes from 2012 are just being repeated in the comments. And I mean, part of what I wanted to get at this video is, like, for some reason, normies are just absolutely disgusted by autists or neuroatypical people. And I find it a little bit bizarre. But what I was witnessing in this video is this, like, to try to, like, follow this guy's broken Spergburger train of thought. Like, he's kind of just regurgitating stuff that he heard in MGTOW videos and incel videos. And it was just all over the place. And he's not really speaking coherently. He wasn't really able to, like, get anywhere in the discussion. It was very frustrating to listen to. And then it was also frustrating to listen to when, you know, after he goes on his unhinged, incoherent rant for a few minutes, then these, like, normies who run the show chime in, and it's like, well, you know, as somebody who doesn't really necessarily agree with what you're saying, a lot of people, like, meet women in their 30s and get married, and they find a wife in their 30s, and they would kind of just, like, cherry pick one of his kind of random sound bites from his train of thought and try to respond to it. And it's just, I'm getting tangled up in trying to explain, because ultimately we're dealing with a Spergburger. We're dealing with somebody who can't communicate right. Like, it's this frustrated guy, and he's saying things like, oh, I'm a football player, and guys bend the knee to me, and guys look up to me, and people put me on a pedestal, and people wouldn't think that I struggle with women because I'm a football jock. And, you know, the normies in the comments are absolutely disgusted by everything that he's saying, and they're like, oh, you guys did a good job handling this. This guy's clearly like a narcissist lunatic. It's like, bro, what this guy is neurally atypical. Atypically not. I just can't remember how to say that. He has autism, bro. He cannot communicate properly. And I picked up on it right away. It's like, bro, you say you're a football player and you're good looking and you're smart, and I'm listening to, like, your train of thought, which is like a refrigerator falling down the longest flight of stairs in existence. It's like, bro, you are a Spergburger and you cannot communicate properly with women to attract them. And you also, when the spotlight is put on you, it's like, take it away, bro. Explain your situation. Like, you cannot communicate properly. And what these normies in the comments do is, like, they just get triggered at everything he says. And, oh, I just find it so disgusting, bro. I just find it so unbelievably disgusting. Because it's really simple, and I just don't even know if I can break it down. Because I'm starting to sound like a sperg, because this guy's train of thought was, like, painful to listen to. I mean, even trying to give, like, an impression of it, he's like, oh, well, I'm, like, a football player, and I'm smart, and I get good grades, and I lost my full ride scholarship, and, you know, women don't pick me. They pick the guy who is different than me, and because they're gonna get with me later. Like, the fucking guy cannot, for the life of him, lay out like a coherent thought. And it was absolutely brutal for me to listen to, trying to put it through my logical mogger head, and I'm just like, bro, I should be getting paid to try to make sense of your train of thought right now. And then you look at these guys running the podcast, and I could just see it in their face, like, they're pretending that they understand anything that he's saying. and then you hear their response, and it's just, I can only break it down so much. It's like Reddit stereotypes. It's like, oh, you know, you think that, like, you're entitled to a woman, and, it's just so painful, dude. It was, like, the most painful non-discussion that I've listened to in a long time. There was no communication happening. This guy was just like a broken record sperg burger, completely failing to have a coherent thought. And these guys were just like posturing him and going off of like incel stereotypes and more or less not really responding to things that he was saying, because he wasn't really able to say anything. Dude's a complete fucking sperg. And so what's the point of the video? Because I don't think this needs to go on for a long time, bro. Like, I'm having trouble having coherent thoughts about it, because I guess the point is that it was one of the most painfully broken pieces of communication that I've ever heard. This guy, he says he's a black guy, he plays football, and, you know, people think that, like, he wouldn't struggle with women, but really, like, he relates to Elliot Rodgers. He said that when he discovered Elliot Rodgers, like, it changed his life, and, maybe the guy's a fed. Like, that is just, and nobody should self-identify as an incel, ever. It's a forced meme. The whole thing about incels is a forced meme. It's a literal psyop. A lot of those shootings were probably psyops. And, dude, like, call yourself a dork or a nerd, or if you're a virgin, then just say you're a virgin. Please just, like, let this term incel die, because everything about it is so toxic. And entertaining the idea of the term incel, I just want to say that I think probably the majority of the problem is autism. It was clicking in my head with this guy. This guy clearly has autism. These fucking normies don't understand that. And they're trying to, like, take what he's saying at face value. And they weren't taking what he was saying at face value. Like, they were responding to things that he wasn't really saying. and they painted him out to kind of be this horrible guy. And everybody in the comments, I really hope this guy doesn't get doxxed, because it will absolutely fucking crucify his life. These people are like a fucking lynch mob in the comments. They hear the term incel, this guy's an incel, and they hear a couple of things that he was saying. It's like, oh, you feel entitled to women? Women are human beings! And I just can't really, like, all I could really do is link the video in the comments and tell you to watch it yourself and be like, listen to this guy's train of thought. It's fucking painful. It's like a washing machine. He starts one sentence and then jumps to another sentence, and it's like a fucking Kamara of sewing together random ideas, and he can't make his way through a coherent train of thought. It's like, bro, you are a fucking Spergburger in paradise. And that's why you're failing with women. That's why you're failing with women in spite of the fact that, like, you're a football jock. This guy is not neurotypical. And then you start thinking about the stuff, you know, in all these years of people debating about incels. It's like, oh, you know, I'm 6'4" and women don't like me. And then I know a guy who's 5'6" and he slays. the guy who's 5'6" is neurotypical, and the guy who's 6'4" isn't neurotypical. Now, there is such thing as the black pill, and it's like some guys are not neurotypical, and they're also kind of ugly. And, but bro, autism is like in the mix. When it comes to incels, autism is absolutely 100% in the mix. And that's part of like the point that I wanted to make. And then also, normies have an irrational hatred of non-neurotypical people. And I don't really understand it. It's really just because, like, they're different and they don't seem to really understand why. It's basically like taking someone who has some sort of a mental illness and then just not taking into account that they have a mental illness and taking everything they say at face value. I mean, I think maybe a lot of people don't know what autism is, or they don't understand it. And I remember they played a clip of a video one time where a black sheep was being attacked by all the white sheep, or it was like chickens or something. Like the albino chicken was getting ganged up on by all these regular chickens, and that's like what it is, bro. People who are not neurotypical, normies find you disgusting. And it's not always like related to incel stuff. Because yeah, when you get a person who's autistic and they're trying to explain why they self-identify as an incel, which I think is just like a completely ridiculous term. I mean, that's why I feel the way I feel after watching this. It's like, wow, bro, you got this neurotypical sperg burger trying to explain why he is a self-proclaimed incel, which ultimately means that you're confused and brainwashed, because that's a really stupid thing to do. And what's a really stupid thing to do is go in this normie podcast with this ocean full of just the most angry, spiteful, judgmental, un-Christ-like people I've ever seen, bro. It's like, this guy is suffering, and he's trying to explain it, and he's failing to have any coherent thoughts because he's a sperg burger. And all anybody in the comments can do is be offended and be like, oh, he's so fucking disgusting. Women are human beings. And you need to treat women like humans. And you're going on and on about how good looking you think you are. And people bend the knee to you. And you're fucking disgusting. And no wonder women don't want you. It's like, bro, the guy can't fucking communicate. Like, if he was trying to say, hey, can you pass me the salt? It's like, salt comes out of the ocean, and did you know that the water contains this amount of salt? And I lost my scholarship, dude, and I would like some of the sodium, potassium type of... Did you know that potassium is for hydration, and so is sodium? Like, the guy is just riddled with autism. Nobody in the comments acknowledged that. The people running the show didn't acknowledge that, and they're just fucking attacking him. And it's disgusting. And I feel kind of like disoriented. I'm having like a trauma response trying to talk about this video. Because it's an neurotypical, atypical, not neurotypical, autist, just fucking surrounded by normies, just getting crucified. And, wow. I had it on in the background. It was hard for me to even really, like, fathom it at the time. But... And then right out the gate, when you label yourself an incel and you're on this podcast, and, you know, I look at these guys fucking get it in. You know, you got like the tall, lean, but not skinny. He looks like a runner. He's like a 6'2" runner, bro. And then his friend is like maybe 6 foot, a little bit stockier, looks like a wrestler. These guys fucking smash puss, dude. These guys fucking smash puss. And they got their little like concerned face, and they're listening to this completely incoherent, like, the way their faces should look. I'm kind of sensitive to facial expressions, and I'm looking at these guys' facial expressions, and they look like they think they know what this guy's saying. And this guy's train of thought, this black football player, Sperg Tismo guy, it was just the most broken record form of communication I think I've ever heard. He could just not communicate to save his fucking life. And then they're responding to what they think he's saying. And then the normies in the comment section are just... It's just kind of like, you're an incel, and then they just take all the incel stereotypes and just attack him for it. And he said something in their mind that kind of makes them think he's saying that, but he's not. All he's trying to explain is that he's failing with women, and he sees that there's guys that clean up with women at a young age, and then his perception is that, eventually women will go for him because he's intelligent and stable, like, down the line, and he doesn't want to be the second choice. Now, everything I just said is kind of in the ballpark of an incel stereotype, but you see how I was able to, like, communicate a very simple idea in a very simple way? Like, there's Mr. Right Now that women are going for at a young age, and then maybe they'll go for this guy later down the line because he has a scholarship and he's going to be a career guy. When you can just pull the Band-Aid off and say it quickly, there's still people who are going to be offended by that, but it sounds a lot more reasonable, and you can move on to, like, other ideas after you lay that out. This fucking guy was like this broken record. It might be more than autism. Like, he just can't communicate properly, and I can just tell. I could immediately tell why this guy fails with women. Like, you cannot communicate. Not only can you not grasp, like, being smooth with women and having the right body language in game, this guy is a fucking mess. Like, you're looking around and, I lost my scholarship, and MGTOW, Elliot Rogers, and I don't know, men bow the knee to me, but I think maybe women will settle for me, but I can't, dude. And then he, like, randomly got angry. It's like, buddy, I'm not gonna hold him accountable for what he says at face value. Most people can't even understand what he's trying to say. So, this is a strange video, man. But I'm gonna post the video in the comments or in the description. And what I wanted to do, I have this meme. It's like rock, paper, scissors of normies, autists, and psychopaths. And one of the bullet points under normies is that they punish outsider behavior. And that just, I know exactly what that meme is referring to. Normies treat non-neurotypical people like they're murderers or pedophiles because they just are a little bit different, because they just don't communicate the same way, because they're just not normal. And it reminds me of X-Men. One of the things I was thinking is that, like, X-Men might as well be about autists, and autism might as well be what makes up like 90% of the incel community. The incel community. Like, you're confused if you identify as an incel, dude. Like, you're really doing yourself a service if you're calling into normie podcasts saying, yeah, I'm an incel, I've listened to Elliot Rogers and it changed my life. Like, you're fucking confused, dude. This guy's confused, brainwashed, young, stupid. I mean, he lacks common sense. He it sounds like he gets good grades and gets scholarships and shit, but he lacks common sense. And another word for that oftentimes can be autism. Like, you just don't have common sense. You just can't navigate the normie social structures. But the reason I think it's like X-Men is because in X-Men they talk about the mutants wanting to go to war with the people. the people are like atypical people and the mutants are like autists because, and then, you know, they see it as a defensive because ultimately the normies are declaring war on the X-Men. They're the ones declaring the war on the mutants. And people aren't exactly sure like where autism comes from, you know? It's kind of debated what it is. I hear some people like Varg, you know, am I unironically citing Varg? Well, he's a guy and he said it. He thinks that autism is like the untamed human animal. I've heard people say that autism could be like a evolution. I mean, hey, people who are Darwinists, you think that greater intelligent humanity was just a freak genetic mutation. And then, you know, because of natural selection, it's like, hey, that mutation benefited you, so it stayed around because it was passed on. Well, some incredibly intelligent people who change the world and become incredibly successful have autism, usually high-functioning autism. Like some high IQ individuals who are very capable in certain areas of life have autism. So it could be like seen as this genetic mutation, which maybe could be passed on. But yeah, that aspect of, you know, the mutants going to war with the regular people, it's like that's kind of happening with the neurotypicals versus the aneurotypical. And it's just so unnecessary. It's like what you need to do as a normie is when somebody's train of thought sounds like a refrigerator falling down a never-ending staircase, it's like, oh, this guy's a Sperg burger. Like, I'm just gonna, like, nod my head and, like, oh, yeah, okay, buddy. Like, he's not communicating properly. He's not, and maybe they'll say some things that offend you, and normies just get triggered, bro. Like, they're like looking at this guy and nothing he's saying makes any sense. It's like you're looking to get triggered. It's like, I don't really understand what this guy's saying, but, oh, he just said that women don't want him. Oh, they're human beings, dude. It's like, bro, this is totally a rant. It shouldn't have been. I'm just looking at this phenomenon and I'm just shaking my head. It's like, what's wrong with you people, dude? What's wrong with you people? Like, you don't understand what he is. You don't understand what's going on. You're giving your thought, trying to take my emotion out of it, trying to take my disgust out of it. In the comments, the normies are giving their analysis of why he's failing with women. Oh, no wonder you're failing with women. You're failing with women because you're entitled. You're failing with women because you don't see them as humans. You're failing with women because you're worried about their body count. It's like, dude, this guy is failing with women because he is a Sperg, because he has autism. And everybody in the comments has failed to understand that. And the people doing the show have failed to understand that. And they're attacking him based off of their preconceived notions, like based off of their inability to judge him properly. They're attacking him based off of their false assessments. And it's completely disgusting, bro. Like, these are going to be the people who are like, oh, these people are dangerous and we need to round them up. These are the people who call people Nazis, and they're the ones who act like Nazis. And it's exhausting to me, bro. I really think I'm an empath. I really think, you know, I'm a punished empath. I believe that I'm kind of like, you know, from the movie Blade, the guy who's like half vampire, half human. I believe I'm a daywalker Sperg. Some people call them high-functioning autism. I believe that maybe if there's something wrong with me, you know, I've just kind of rejected psychology, but I think that was probably my issue, is I there's some people in my family who have autism, and I think maybe my autism was so high-functioning. And, you know, I've tried to study psychology as well. I wanted to be a psychologist. I wanted to be a psychiatrist. So when I go to therapy, I'm also kind of like portraying myself in a particular way. So they're like, oh, it seems like maybe you have social anxiety. It seems like maybe you have depression. When in reality, what's happening is like my social failures as a result of my not being neurotypical is resulting in failure socially which is making me sad, hence saying you have depression, or making me anxious in social situations, hence them saying social anxiety, or just being on the verge of like flipping shit, when they said bipolar type 2. Like, I believe me being like an armchair, many things, armchair philosopher, now I'm kind of becoming an armchair psychologist on top of it. I believe that I can help people. I believe that like getting a master's in Freudian psychology isn't really the best way to help people. But that's a digression. That's another video. And I feel for Spergs, bro. And I feel like I can kind of like philosophize my way out of being a Sperg. And this is my advice for Spergs. Is like, you should probably just like work out, dress nice, take showers, present yourself in the best way possible, and then maybe kind of go for the strong silent type. You just need to say less. Because when you start saying too many words, it's going to become more likely that normies start detecting your not neurotypical way of communicating ideas. And for some reason that I don't understand, they are fucking disgusted by it. Like, they hate people for being not neurotypical. And as an empath, I find it disgusting. These are the people that the Bible speaks of when they're talking about the mobs and the persecutors, and they will be offended. Like, these are the masses. These people are the masses, and they're just so judgmental. They're so harsh. And I do kind of understand what's happening. Is like, they don't understand autism. It's not computing in their head that this person is failing to communicate in a neurotypical fashion. So they're confused, and they're looking for something, and they pull something out of this person's poor communication and then use that to judge them and use that to pin them down. Oh, well, he said this, so he's that. But they're missing the idea that this person's not neurotypical. The proper analysis of this guy calling into the show is, wow, this guy's all over the place. This guy is like not neurotypical, and then maybe say something about it. It's like, hey, bro, have you considered that like maybe you have autism? Because I'm listening to you, and you're kind of like jumping all over the place, little buddy, and you're kind of having trouble like voicing your thoughts. And you talk about this, it's like a sentence trails off. Instead of having one complete sentence, it's like you're doing this, and then you're this, and then you're this, and you're this, and it's just this big jumble. And it's like, have you considered that you have autism? And as a result, you're not able to pick up on like social cues and stuff, and it's making you fail with women, like, because that's exactly what's happening. Like, that's the proper diagnosis of this guy. Not one. Two people on the show, neither of them understood that. Comment section, not a single person in the comment section. Everybody's failing. All these people are failing, and this guy ultimately needs help. Like, hey, little buddy, you have an issue communicating with people, and it's causing you to fail socially. Nobody can help this guy. Nobody wants to help this guy. It's just, with normies, it's like, incel, oh, he has the incel ideology, oh, he thinks this about women, destroy, 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 punish. They are an absolute foaming from the mouth lynch mob. And I consider myself a lot of different things, Sigma male, empath, but first and foremost, I am a student of Christ, God become man, the greatest teacher ever, on top of being God. And he says to like not judge people so harshly. And this kind of judgment, this kind of just destroy, destroy, destroy. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. So I'm going to post this video. It's basically a rant because it was hard for me to articulate, because it was hard for a little buddy to articulate. And man, if this guy gets doxxed, it's just, he has some good things going for him. He's a good football player. It's like, it's good that you're a good football player, buddy. It's good that you get good grades. People in the comments, oh, he thinks he's better because, oh, he's a fucking narcissist because he says he's a good football player. Oh, he's a narcissist because he thinks he's good looking. It's like, no, the guy's good looking and he's a football player. He's smart, but he's failing socially. And I see why. I'm the only fucking person, apparently, who watched that video and understands why. Oh, you're a sperg burger, little buddy. Oh, you have autism, dude. Like, you need to, there's things you can do. You can talk to some people. I actually don't really know that much about the treatment for autism. I might want to fucking look into it because I think that was kind of my issue. Is I think that I had a high-functioning autism. And I don't know if YouTube's going to punish me for saying this, but one time I got a splinter in my foot in about 5th grade, and my parents are like, oh, well, maybe it was a nail, and let's go get you a tetanus shot. They got me a tetanus shot vaccine, and I've heard really bad things about those. And I feel like that could have stunted my growth. I feel like that could have maybe given me some autism. And I look back on that and think, maybe that little decision out of my parents' ignorance to get a tetanus shot, like, fucked up my entire life. But I'm cruising. I'm writing a book. I got this super awesome channel that y'all should sub and like and comment on and support if y'all haven't. I'm going to be fine. But I see this guy's scenario. He called into this show because he was reaching out for help. And that show is a trap, dude. Like, you walked into a fucking viper's pit. And watching these people who I know for a fact, like, there's people out there trying to figure out how to dox him. Shame. Just a shame on so many fucking people, dude. For right now, I don't really give a fuck about the incel thing or guys struggling with women. Like, the guy called in because he's struggling and he wants insight on his problems, and somebody could have given him that insight. Like, you have autism, get fucking help. That's the advice that guy needed to hear, and he didn't hear it. And those people probably shouldn't be running a podcast. They shouldn't be running an advice podcast, because all they do is put these people on a radar to where these normies can, like, sharpen their pitchforks and try to figure out how to dox them and ruin their life. And I wish I could throw up right now. Like, it's dramatic to say that it makes me feel sick. It doesn't, but it's just like, it's making me understand, like, society is fucking disgusting, and this country in the West is just headed in the wrong direction. And so in conclusion, I think the incel question has been solved. It's a mixture of the black pill and autism, and I think it's primarily autism, because you got all these people, well, I don't know, dude, I'm 6'4" and women don't pay attention to me. And it doesn't have to be autism. It could just be like charisma, game, but you get so many people who's like, no, none of that stuff matters. It's all about the black pill, because they're fucking enraged at their inability to thrive socially because they're not neurotypical. And I think I philosophized my way through my life experience where, like, I tell you guys that I'm kind of hypersensitive to facial expressions, which is also a sign of having a kind of autism, but it's also a sign of being an empath, and there's probably some sort of a fucking overlap there. But I have deduced that normies are fucking disgusted by aneurotypical behavior. I think that's it, aneurotypical. I just need to say it fast for it to make sense. Normies are hyper disgusted by aneurotypical behavior, and they make those faces like you farted or something when you're talking. Like, I have a lot of memories of people making that kind of a face at me, and it gave me a lot of trouble, bro. And I look back and I understand. It's like my thought process, I'm kind of a clever guy, I'm kind of a talented guy, which people get disgusted by me saying that. But it's just like, the whole reason I say that is like, I have things to offer, and I've suffered and failed socially. Why? Society doesn't want to give you the answers, because society doesn't fucking know the answers. It would be one thing if these people knew he had autism and attacked him that way, but they don't. They don't fucking understand what's going on. You want to take someone who can't communicate, I know I'm beating this to death. You want to take somebody who can't communicate and like wait for him to say something that triggers you and then beat him over the head with it. And it's like, you guys should just be fucking ashamed, bro. So, if this guy ever does get doxxed, I'd love to have a discussion with him. I feel like I could help these people. I feel like I should have a call-in show where people fucking talk to me about why they think they're a sperg or why they think they're an incel, and I could probably fucking help them, dude. This fucking dude bro, track team player, and his fucking stockier wrestler friend, like, these guys are fucking terrible people. If you were just normies, it would be different, but you're doing the show where you want to talk to incels, and dude, you guys are not helping, man. I don't think people want to help. Alright, well, somehow that went on for 40 minutes, so I'm rusty on making videos, guys. That's what I had to say. Take it or leave it. God bless.